from tiny anti-tank guns known as door knockers to railway monsters firing shells the size of a tank. The Wehrmacht didn't just build Panzers, they engineered the most diverse and terrifying artillery arsenal in history. Today, we're breaking down every significant German gun of WWII, from the smallest bore to the greatest cannon ever forged by man. The tank hunters. Let's start with the 3.7 cm Pak 36. In 1939, it was considered cutting-edge, lightweight, easy to conceal, and mobile enough for a two-man crew to operate. However, by 1941, it had become largely ineffective against Soviet T-34 tanks. The crews bitterly nicknamed it the Army Door Knocker, because its shells often did little more than announce their presence. The necessary upgrade was the 5 cm Pak 38. A mid-war solution featuring a tungsten core projectile and a distinctive double-layered shield for crew protection. It was Germany's answer to the Eastern Front crisis, designed to sit low in the landscape. While effective against medium armor, taking on heavy tanks still required a risky shot to the flanks. Then came the true heavyweight, the 7.5 cm Pak 40, the backbone of German anti-tank defense, capable of knocking out almost any Allied vehicle. It traded mobility for raw killing power, shredding Shermans from 1,000 meters. But it was so heavy that during a retreat it was often spiked and abandoned. And then, the legend, the 8.8 cm Flak 36, simply known as the 88. Rommel realized its high muzzle velocity could punch through any armor in existence. If you heard the crack of an 88, it meant you were still alive. The shell traveled faster than sound. But the true sky killer of the Reich was the 12.8 cm Flak 40, a massive static monster engineered for city defense. These were stationed on the colossal, radar-guided flak towers of Berlin, often in Zwilling dual mounts. Firing in pairs, they could hurl 12 kilograms of high explosive up to 12 kilometers high, creating an impenetrable wall of flak for Allied bomber formations. Technically magnificent, it was a weapon of pure defensive panic. Then there's this brute, the 15 cm SIG 33. This was the largest infantry gun ever fielded in WWII. The concept was simple. Mount a massive 150 mm barrel onto a lightweight carriage. It provided devastating demolition power for infantry commanders, but the physics were brutal. The recoil was so violent it often shattered its own wooden wheels. The screaming Mimes. The 15 cm Nebelwerfer 41 traded precision for psychological terror. Allies nicknamed it Moaning Mini because of the horrific, high-pitched shriek of its 6 rockets. It could saturate an entire grid square in 10 seconds, but the massive smoke trails left a direct return to sender address for Allied counter-battery fire. Finally, we must look at the 21 cm Mercer 18, a true engineering marvel of the war. This heavy howitzer utilized a unique double recoil system. The barrel recoiled, and then the entire upper carriage recoiled along the mount. This double absorption meant the gun barely moved when fired, providing absolutely incredible repeat accuracy for such a colossal caliber. The cost, as always with German steel, was complexity, weight, and a logistical headache to deploy. When engineering reaches the point of absurdity, you get the Karl-Gerät, a self-propelled 60 cm siege mortar designed to crack the strongest fortifications on Earth. Firing a massive 2-ton concrete-piercing shell, this wasn't a tank. It was a slow-moving, tracked fortress that required a dedicated crane just to reload a single round. Finally, the largest weapon in the history of warfare, the 80 cm Gustav, a railway gun of unprecedented scale. Weighing 350 tons, it fired 7-ton shells, the weight of a loaded bus, over 47 kilometers. Technically brilliant, but strategically useless. From the 37 mm door knocker to the 800 mm Gustav, this arsenal reflects the path of the Third Reich itself. It began with mobility and precision, but as the war turned, it chased the illusion of sheer size. These guns were engineering marvels, yet in an age of mass production and air power they became dinosaurs, relics of a fading era of siege warfare. In the end, no weight of steel could keep pace with the changing face of modern war. What do you think? Was the 88 truly the most effective tool in the kit? Or was it the reliable POC 40 that did the real heavy lifting? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to see more deep dives into the gear and machines that shaped history, hit that like button and subscribe to Archival Kit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next breakdown.